All right, my friends, JR Dukes with you. What a eventful day ahead of us. Donald Trump right now is in New York court and he is facing his nemesis, the New York Attorney General, and what he calls a rogue judge. We're going to get right into it because I have a video clip I want to start with that was just hot off the press. We're going to talk about it.
This is a continuation of the single greatest witch hunt of all time. We have a rogue judge who rules that properties are worth a tiny fraction, 1/100th, a tiny fraction of what they actually are. We have a racist attorney general who's a horror show, who ran on the basis that she was going to get Trump before she even knew anything about me. She used this to run for governor. She failed in her attempt to run for governor. She had virtually no polling. She came back and she said, well, now I'll go back to get Trump again. And this is what we have. It's a scam. It's a sham. Just so you know, my financial statements are phenomenal. They are actually less in terms of the numbers used than the actual net worth. The actual net worth is substantially more. No bank was affected. No bank was hurt. They don't even know why they have to be involved. And they've so testified. They can't believe that they're involved because they were paid back on time. There were no defaults. There were no problems. And it was like a perfect client. In the meantime, people are being murdered all over the sidewalks of New York. There was no victim here. The banks were represented by the best, biggest, most prestigious law firms in the state of New York, actually in the country. Some of the biggest and best law firms, in all cases, the biggest and best law firms. That's who represented them. The banks got back their money. Again, there was never a default. There was never a problem. Everything was perfect. There was no crime. The crime is against me because we have a corrupt district attorney, but we have a corrupt attorney general. And it all comes down from the DOJ. They're totally coordinated. It's in Washington because I'm the leading candidate. I'm leading Biden by 10 points. And I'm leading the Republicans by 50 and 60 points. That's pretty much, they say, over. I never accept that, but they say it's over. This has to do with election interference, plain and simple. They're trying to damage me so that I don't do as well as I'm doing in the election. Our country's gone to hell. A country that's in decline, serious decline. We have a man running our country who has no clue, doesn't know what he's doing, and you know it better than anybody because you have to cover him. What they've done with open borders, what they've done with interest rates and taxes, it's a disgrace. So what we have here is an attempt to hurt me in an election. It's an attempt to hurt me in an election. This never happened before, where President of the United States leaves office and gets indicted. And the reason I got indicted was that I ran. If I didn't run, I'd be sitting right now at a beach like Biden does every time, even though he's supposed to be working. So very simply put, it's a witch hunt. It's a disgrace. We have a corrupt attorney general in this state. You see how she does? This trial was railroaded and fast-tracked. This trial could have been brought years ago, but they waited till I was right in the middle of my campaign. The same with other trials and indictments. It's all run by DOJ, which is corrupt in Washington. Everything goes through them. They're all corrupt people. Frankly, our country is corrupt. And that's one of the reasons I'm running. We're going to straighten it out. They have one property that's worth anywhere from 50 to 100 times what this judge put down as a value. Put down a value $18 million, and the property's probably worth, could be anywhere from 50 to 100 times more than that. And a lot of those numbers could even be low. We have other properties, the same thing, so he devalued everything. I didn't even put in my best asset, which is the brand in terms of value. Coca-Cola, take a look at their value. They have a value. The value of their brand is more than everything else put together. My brand is extremely valuable. I didn't even use it in my financials. If I wanted to build up a financial statement, I would have built it up by using brand in addition to everything else. We have the greatest properties. We have among the greatest properties in the world, and I have to go through this for political reasons. This judge is a politician. He comes out of the clubs. He's running unopposed. The reason he's unopposed is because he's getting Trump. They always run opposed. He's getting Trump. The bosses say, don't run against this guy. He's doing great. He's getting Trump. But he overplayed his hand, and he should be investigated for what he's done. What he did in undervaluing these properties is a disgrace to our nation. This shouldn't be a case. One other thing. We have a clause in the contract which tells essentially buyer beware. The contract is very, very, if you take a look and you speak to the banks, and you will, I hope you speak to the banks, because the banks got paid in full. I hope you speak to the banks. But we have a clause in the contract. It's like a buyer beware clause. It says when you take a look at the financial statement, don't believe anything you read. This is up front. Don't believe anything you read. Some people call it a worthless clause because it makes the statement and anything you read in the statement worthless. It says go out and do your own research. Go out and do your own due diligence. You have to study the statement carefully. Do not believe anything. In fact, it's so strong that people read it and they don't even accept it. They don't even want it. They don't even use it. It's called a disclaimer clause. It's very common. If you put it in, if you don't have time to do statements, or even if you do have time, people like to have it. This is what's called a full disclaimer. We disclaim the financial statements. But even with a full disclaimer, which immediately takes you out of any fraud situation and any litigation. And by the way, when the Attorney General found out about the disclaimer clause, she said, that's okay, let's go forward anyway. It's good publicity. These are corrupt people we're dealing with, the most corrupt people. We have a great company. I built a great company. It's got tremendous value. It's got some of the greatest real estate assets in the world. And now I have to go before a rogue judge as a continuation of Russia, 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 as a continuation of the greatest witch hunt of all time. And I don't think the people of this country are going to stand for it. If I weren't leading in all the polls, or if I weren't running, I wouldn't have any of these cases. I wouldn't be seeing you this morning. But I'll be seeing a lot of you, because this is a horrible thing that's happening to our country, and we've got to get it straightened away. So we'll go in and see our rogue judge, and we'll listen to this man. And I think most people get it. People are getting it. I can tell you the voters getting it, because every time they give me a fake indictment, I go up in the polls, and that's never happened before. But this is a disgrace, and you ought to go after this Attorney General, because she's turning off everybody from coming in. You know, I don't know if you take a look at the outflow of business. Businesses are fleeing New York.
All right, we're going to leave it there. They have a little cell phone in the background of that particular report. But for the most part, his comments are pretty well summarized with what you just seen. So right now, Donald Trump, former president of the United States, the leading presidential candidate for the 2024 election, and definitely by far the leading candidate that is obviously going to win the Republican nomination for office, is inside of a New York City courtroom having to defend his companies, basically defend his livelihood against these type of what I consider bogus charges. Imagine, if you will, an attorney general that ran in a profanity-laced tirade that she was going to get Trump. Just like the great Alan Dershowitz book says, Get Trump. By the way, you ought to get that book if you haven't. It's a fantastic read. She ran on the fact that she was going to get Donald Trump, and she's making good on her promise. I want to tell you, in general, quickly, exactly what's going on here. And exactly what's going on is she is basically saying Donald Trump defrauded the banks by overinflating his real estate. So essentially, there is no victim here. Nobody lost any money. There's no allegation, to my knowledge, of that. What the fraud, and I'm going to use air quotes on this, is that Donald Trump allegedly, his companies allegedly, would take a building. Let's just say it's one of his properties downtown New York. He would say that the building is worth, just for simple math, $1 billion. And then, of course, he would get money, loans, if you will, based on the building being worth $1 billion. Well, this rogue, crazy, insane Attorney General has taken our former president to court and has said he committed fraud by lying about the valuations of those buildings. Now, listen, I can tell you I have some experience in real estate, and the reality is these types of estimates are extremely and highly subjective. That's the reason why the president's talking about the fact that he puts clauses into his disclosures that you need to basically buyer beware. This is what he believes the property is worth, but another reasonably minded person might disagree. In essence, that's exactly what this case is about. It's about paperwork. It's about appraisals. Because wealthy people like our president, what they do is they accumulate assets, specifically property. They hope the property continues to go up in value, and then they borrow money against the value of the property based on what the appraisers appraise the property at. It's not an exact science. There is a lot of art along with the science. And that's exactly what our former president is saying. She ran on the agenda on the premise that I'm going to get Trump and destroy him, his family, his kids, if you elect me. And that's what she's doing. This is crazy. This is crazy. Now, if you're a Democrat, you might be thinking to yourself, hey, it's funny. We're getting Trump. We're going to tear him up. We're going to destroy him. But it's not funny. Right now, it's Donald Trump. It's going to be on the other foot sooner or later, and you're going to see the Republicans retaliate. This should not be allowed to happen in our country. And the reality is it's having the opposite effect on a lot of minority voters, such as a lot of black friends that I have personally told me, and people that have emailed me, this is one reason they're supporting Donald Trump coming up. He now understands how corrupt, how two-tiered our justice system is. And this should be unacceptable to all Americans. This is not what we're about. This particular attorney general, by the way, I want to make a quick caveat. Only in the United States, as far as modern developed countries, can a prosecutor, can a solicitor, an AG, by themselves decide, I am going to hammer a particular person. I'm going to take them out. I'm going to destroy their businesses. Any other type of modern society, such as Israel, the attorney general, the solicitor, whatever they are, has to go to another official. And in most countries, it's an official that's appointed for life, and they have to get permission. It's an independent body that makes sure this type of nonsense does not happen. This is the reason why countries fail, is because of corruption, because of a banana republic. Even Putin is on record saying that he doesn't care what's going on right now. As far as he's concerned, he thinks it's fantastic. It proves, in Putin's mind, his point, that the West is corrupt. He knows what's going on. They're trying to get Trump. They're trying to take him down and destroy him. You talk about election interference. The election interference is the liberals, is the crazies. They don't want us as regular Americans to vote. Why do they not want us to vote? Because they know Donald Trump, in all likelihood, is going to be the next president and put a stop to this craziness that's going on in our country. NBC is reporting, just so you know how long this trial is supposed to go, the trial of New York Attorney General Letitia James' $250 million fraud trial against Trump, his 2 adult children, and his company could last almost 3 months. And here's the takeaway I want you to understand. They are not only looking for $250 million in penalties, and nobody has lost money. Everybody, this man has created jobs. This man has developed properties. This man has done a lot of good for the state of New York and New York City proper. They want his skull. They want him out of the election. They are looking to bar him from New York State, New York City. If they are successful, Donald Trump will have to sell off all his properties. Everything that he's worked a lifetime to accumulate, he'll have to essentially sell it, at least as far as the state of New York is concerned. That is not fair, my friends. That we should all be worried about. We should not allow this. You should be enraged. Listen, I want your comments below. Please leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts and feelings on this. I'll be back later today and tomorrow with more information, because this story is live right now, and it is a fast moving type of situation. So you always honor me when you tune into my videos. I sincerely mean that, and I appreciate that, whether your views agree with my views or not. I do appreciate having a conversation with you. I always tell you, please have a free mind, investigate, and educate yourself. Until next time, my friends, I am J.R. Dukes.